Jared Harrington. My company is Beat the Odds Ventures, and my nonprofit is Beat the Odds Global.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, you guys get the pen and the pad. I'm giving you sports game that you just can't go Google. You know how I do. It's all about how this person started, sustained, succeeded, and they're still a young person. And I say that because I'm an older person, so I can say, man, I remember being, 25 in that range, and it's all good. But I met this young man. I want to thank Queen Olivia for connecting us. You guys have seen her here with me talking about her business, also with the ambassador before, from Sierra Leone, of course, y'all. You know, I'm a faithful patriot. But I got Jared Harrington. He's going to give us the game. He's more than a professional basketball player. He's somebody doing nonprofit work. He's doing big business, and he's doing it, some of it, America and in Africa. So, I'm excited about that. Jared, welcome to the show. How are you doing, my bro?
Man, I'm doing blessed, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Let's just get to this part where people say, wait, hold on, Jared Harrington. It's not Jared Wimway or Jared this and that. How did you go do basketball in Africa? Just give them the game, because, I think I still got I don't got a mean shot in me. I got a mean pass in me and a dribble maybe, but not the shot. But how did you get into the professional basketball in Africa, being right here in America?
Yeah, for sure. So I first started off my professional career. I started off in Asia. Very cold, very cold. I hated it. So I came back. I was training in Miami. And then one of my friends, he came up with an opportunity for me. The NBA Africa was fairly new at the time, a few years back. And so it was a team that was developing called the Cape Town Tigers. They loved my film. We had a lot of synergy. We talked about the contract, of course. And so, I made my pilgrimage to South Africa.
Wow. And in Cape Town, we just brought a group from South Africa about 6 months ago, and people were like, hey, Joburg is great. Cape Town looks like California. Was this your first time in Africa when you went to go play ball?
Unfortunately, it was my first time in Africa, man. Africa's, I always want to go back home, so it was one of those places where I knew I was going to go. I didn't foresee South Africa being my first, so it was an eye-opening experience for me, but I ended up doing 10 months straight there, so it became really a second home for me.
Man, and then you made history. When I looked at the reports, you made history when going to Cape Town. I don't know if it was that you broke records, or maybe you were the first, I assume, Black American to come down there. Talk about that and how that made you feel.
So with the Cape Town Tigers, it was their first real year trying to get into the ball, which is the Basketball Africa League, aka the NBA Africa. So in order to get into the NBA Africa, you have to qualify and be one of the top 8 teams throughout the continent. So I actually went there, and me and another American guy that played in the NBA, we went over there and helped them qualify. We won 2 championships there. We got them actually into the Basketball Africa League, which was a major accomplishment, first time they ever did it. And it was a real pivotal moment for the entire South Africa because, across Africa, if you don't know, it's a really soccer, rugby dominated place. And so basketball is really trying to break past that barrier. And so typically, we look at Nigeria, we look at Egypt, we look at Tunisia, we look at those type of places being the prime stones of basketball in Africa. So when the South Africans, we came aboard and, the whole community got behind us, we qualified to be one of the top 8. It was amazing, man. They received me so well.
How did you receive Africa? Because Africa, and you don't know this about me, but you know who we connected with. So, Africa, I'm no stranger to it. Investments, I don't want to tell all my business because it'd be one of them, family members. I didn't even know, I knew you went, but how were you received? How did you receive Africa? Any culture shock?
One of the it was a couple culture shocks, but honestly, I come from DC, so it was one of those places where I come with this mentality where, everybody's a brother, those, you got to, of course, watch your back and everything. But, I come from a very family driven area. So it wasn't one of those things where it was such a shell shock for me, right? I could still be myself. I could still talk regular. Cape Town, especially, is it's a melting pot of different cultures. So I felt very comfortable. One of the biggest shell shocks with me was, how recent the apartheid was. They still have the colors. They still separate you by your color, your skin color a little bit. So that was a little confusing for me because they were telling me about, that person's a color, that person's a dark skinned brother, that person's a white. And to me, and coming from America, we all black. Whether you lightest or lightest, whether you the darkest or darkest, we all one. So if I get pulled over with my light skinned brother, we both, our heart is beating. As opposed to when I'm over there, that was a little culture shock for me. But other than that, man, I felt home. You're right. I had less worry. I didn't have to worry about the police and the violence that was going on here. I always heard about violent things that were happening in Africa, but when I went there, there was no such thing. So a lot of people, they did their research on me, and they also noticed the things that I wanted to do outside of basketball. So I guess I had a double entendre of the way they received me.
And you talk about getting pulled over. I just got, to get pulled over in Africa is a little different, especially when you start talking. As soon as you start talking as an American, I have a driver because I don't drive
Exactly.
in Africa. I don't drive outside of America. So,
Exactly.
but even in walking and you get pulled over, hey, talk about that, because there's going to be a young person who says, wait, he reminds me of me. I mean, I can go play in Africa, and we'll get to the money. And, I'm going to give you guys ranges. I'm not telling you what the brother make. Y'all going to have to go, do your own due diligence on that. But can you talk about like I call it American privilege, especially Black American privilege when you're in Africa? How has that been with authority, with friends, with women? Get into a little bit of that because,
For sure.
Yeah, you Allen Iverson, Shaquille O'Neal, and LeBron over there.
Yeah, so we are treated at a higher standard than the average person. You got to think, a lot of people outside of America view America as such a high standard, right? So you can be a regular guy over here in terms of your social capital, but in Africa, you may be a celebrity, you may be a superstar, right? So you will find times you may get in trouble when, for example, you might get let off the hook, or you may get in trouble and they think you have more capital than you put on, and you can be in a bind, for example. So it's a lot of different ways where we as Americans and other people have to take that in consideration. Well, wherever you go, not just Africa, where the cultures are different because of the way that a lot of cultures perceive America. So we always have to take that into account. But you do get treated higher. You do get treated at a certain level, right? So I can go, well, my case was a little bit different because, I do come with the NBA Africa attached to my already American persona, right? So I can only speak from my reality. So with my reality, I can go inside of a restaurant in Africa and I know I'm gonna get a great seat. I know they might clear out a section for me to come sit down, right? Because they know I'm gonna bring some attention to their restaurant or their establishment, or even when we go out to the clubs, right? We know that they're going to designate a side for me or my teammates to come sit. We're going to have beautiful women, beautiful people that want to just come talk to us. At the end of the day, like it doesn't even have to be nothing crazy. It could just be something simple as them humbling themselves enough to come talk to us and like, yo, how is it over there? Or, just curious about certain things, So it is an honor, but it also comes with a lot of responsibility as well. So I know, for example, I can't move the way an average person can move, right? I can't go be out late and try to, be outside on the street at 4:00 in the morning, 3:00 in the morning, because I can also be perceived as like we call it in DC, we call it a lick.
Yeah, for sure.
So I can always be perceived as like, that guy, he has something that I want. So let me go take that. So it's like, it's certain things where you have to have a driver, you have to have security. But my situation is a little bit different because I humble myself a lot, where a lot of people don't want to cause harm to me because they're like, man, not only is this a guy that he doesn't have to be doing this because of his status in the NBA Africa, but he actually cares about our diaspora, not just Africa, not just America, but our diaspora in general. He wants to educate, he wants to teach, he wants to bring his social capital and make life easier for us. So when you have
Definitely.
that kind of respect, it's like, you know, you're always gonna have some haters and people out there, but for the most part, I don't run into any problems.
And you shouldn't. And most of us don't, you know, you're always going to have socially awkward people, but that's not you. And so you don't have to worry about that. And that same experience, we've sent groups of 30, and I've been going to Africa the past 20 years. It's the same thing. You know, money and status mean a lot. And when you're over there, if you want a table, you want to cut the line, there's ways of doing it. I'll just, you know, you guys, I don't want to start any wahala because y'all will try to use tricks that work for me, might work for Jared, but you might come in there looking like, you know, you're lost. I come in like I belong, and I don't wait in, especially South Africa, you know, even with Mzungus, I go first. I treat it like we're in Dubai. I go first. I'm home. And
Yep.
and that is what it is, and I don't make any qualms about it. I mean that. So they can't cancel me, Jared, because I'm not looking for their you know, approval. But I'm going to make sure I keep things PC for you because you got a long career to go.
But look, that's just to touch on that, man. That's some game right there. Because in America, we have the perception of we got to get the diamonds, we got to get the best girl in your arm, we got to go to the best club, we got to spend top dollar. In reality, a lot of the people that's really billionaires and making the money, they don't have none of that. They don't even move like that. You wouldn't even know. They might come in there with a polo shirt tucked in and some Skechers. And you might look at them as like, yo, they lame, they corny. All in all, they run the club. You know, I have a funny story. When I was in South Africa, for example, I knew this because this is how, remember, I come from the DC area. So it's like I was taught not to flash, not to show everything you got. You know, I learned that. You learn that in the house before you even go outside the house, right? So yeah. I remember we're in a club in Cape Town, good club, you know. And so when we get in there, man, he didn't know because I'm the type of person I like to know the owners. I like to know the people that can make something move, the movers and the shakers. So he didn't know that one of the guys, the guy I came with, he didn't know that one of the guys was actually the owner of this establishment. So we come inside of the establishment, man. He got all his drip on. He's fresh from America. So, you know, he doesn't have the intellect in terms of what Africa really is. So he comes in there with all the flash and all that, you know what I'm saying? So he gets a lot of publicity, but at the same time, he kind of comes into it with an angle of, I'm better than them. And that's what Americans, this is some game for y'all. We can't go into these, especially back home. We can't go into this place where like, I'm better than you. Because they look at that. They see through that. And so he's talking, doing all this other stuff, man. And the owner's just right there, just soaking up game, just listening. So I stop him. I'm like, bro, you know, I have to tell you something, man. You got to just calm it down a little bit because this guy right here, he's a multi-billionaire. He runs the establishment that you're in. And you're in here, you know, showing out, acting a fool, thinking you're doing something. Yeah. So it's lessons like that. More of the story. He missed out on a major opportunity and a blessing and an investment opportunity because he wanted to bring that America shit back to Africa. Mm-hmm. And that's not what we have to do. We have to go into it with the same type of humbleness that we may go into a club in Vegas, or we may go into wherever we are in the world. You said Dubai. You got to go into that with that same knowledge and that same power of the essence of who we are, not trying to be bigger than who we are because we're in a new place. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah.
And that's, you hit it on the head. You know, humility in a show. And let me tell you guys, Jared was so humble. He let, you know, and I'm saying for myself, he let some men in. He bought a table when we met. And some guys would be like, man, you can't bring no men in on my table. You know, that's not happening for some people. But again, connection is everything. And we're just getting started on this connection. But Howard, Baltimore, the DMV is just like Oakland, where I was born. You ain't coming. You know, Yuck said, Yuck mouth. We don't ride no Hummers. We ride under buckets. We don't have to do all that flash because somebody will come take it from you guys fill in the rest, whatnot. You know, You don't have to do that. And you don't have to do that in Africa, especially being a Black American, because we start culture, man. Y'all listen to Afro beats. Y'all know that sound like the hip hop and the African music come together. And the founders said they came to America, came to Europe. They got our game and we took some of their game and we blended it. So just come in and have a good time, humble thine self, and don't get robbed. Now, talk to the kids who are listening to you saying, oh, NBA in Africa. Let's be just, give them ranges. And let me start it off maybe. I'm reading on YouTube and Facebook and Google, $4,000 to $7,000 and up for salaries. I don't want people thinking they're going to come to Africa and get $100 million like, Shaquille O'Neal right now.
Mhm.
Nor do I want your family coming and hit you up during Christmas time and holidays. Talk about, man, I forgot, you were in Africa. So give us the game on ranges, that realistic ranges for people, and how can they put their, name in the card to get on a team in Africa?
So for the NBA Africa in perspective, it's a new league. So we all know that Africa has a lot of capital. Now we're scaling, and the NBA Africa is scaling. So yes, contracts can, from what my understanding, because I'm not the coaches and the people making the decision, but from my understanding, I believe a bare minimum does start at anywhere between 4,000 or 5,000 and up, right? I don't quote me on this because I'm not the decision maker, but that's what I perceive. Now, depending on your resume, where you played at before, who your agent is, who you're connected with, all that plays a part in terms of what you ask for in your salary. So yes, Jared could be making $4,000 or $3,000 a month, but Hughes Mizzou could be making $100,000 a month, right? Because Hughes Mizzou person has been making $100,000 a month in the past 5 countries he's played in. While Jared could be coming in a rookie, just trying to get on and blessed that someone at this level even likes my game enough that I have to take whatever they give me, right? So everybody's situation, this is one thing I want the kids to understand, no matter what, if it's basketball, business, whatever the case, everybody's situation is different, right? So it's like, for example, you just said something, yeah, I got a section for it. You came to my section when you were in DC and everything, right? But to me, at that time, I was able to financially support that, right? So everybody's different though, because if I didn't have it that day, guess what? You would never see me in the club. You know what I'm saying? So it's like everybody's reality is different, and people can't conform themselves to other people's reality. And that's where we make the mistake. For example, I could be playing in Asia, right, making this amount of money, and then I can go to Europe and take a pay cut because the competition may be better, right? So those are type of things that we have to, consider. And to get yourself into NBA Africa team, it's very, very hard. I'm not going to lie to you and say it's not. It's a very hard task, right? Especially right now in the first 3 years. This is only the 3rd season of the ball. Luckily, I've been able to, be blessed to be in this so early. But, a lot of times it deals with your agent. It does with who you're connected with, like I said before. And I believe that they're going to start having combines. I want to say the first combine that they're going to start doing is actually going to be in Paris. It's another game for y'all. The first combine is going to actually be in Paris. And for the women out there, they're actually developing, curating a ball for women. So they're going to have a WNBA Africa now. So same with the NFL Africa, because that's another thing that a lot of people don't understand that's coming. NFL Africa is a thing. So, to get on all these things early it is a tall task, but it is something that is achievable if you have the resources behind you. But like I said, you have to curate those resources first.
Definitely. And you guys say, well, then how do I get an agent? Well, you keep watching Diversified Game and you hit me up because I am a licensed sports agent. And, I don't have all the answers, but let's talk. We start with the conversation. And I know folks like Jared, so I can say, Jared, man, I ran out of game. Throw me a line. And we all work together. Everybody can get paid. Everybody can make some money.
That's how it happens, man. Like, you got to think, like, I'm fresh from Asia coming to Miami. My season in Asia got cut short because of COVID. So I'm up there in Asia. I'm scoring like 27 points a game my rookie year. So I'm ecstatic, right? I'm fresh out of college. I go to Asia. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm lit. Now season's done. Now what do? You go back home to DC. I'm like, I don't want to go back home to DC too long. Let's go train somewhere else. I go to Miami. If I would have never left and took that chance to go take that $75 flight to Miami because of COVID prices, shout out to Spirit. If I would never took that chance, right? I would never met the guy who ultimately became one of my good friends who put the opportunity in place. So it's one of those things. If you don't have the resources now, you can get them resources later, and still keep trying to curate those resources. Don't get discouraged, because that's one thing that the young kids, man, they do that. So they get one no or some type of adversity wall come up, and then they just done. But that's only the beginning.
Yeah, one no just means come back later. That's what that means. You know, it's just not the time. Treat it like a date, whatnot.
Exactly.
Well, basketball is booming, but everybody who greatness and success. Dr. Cornel West said it many moons ago. There's such a big difference, and you have beat the odds. And I want to know: is this your community give back that you are doing with Beat the Odds?
No, Beat the Odds is a life-changing experience, right? So Beat the Odds is bigger than basketball, it's bigger than Jared, it's bigger than us. Beat the Odds is something that we all can relate to. And if we want to keep advancing as a people, especially I'm talking to our diaspora, yeah, this is something that is very important and vital, because Beat the Odds is economic development and sustainability, right? So on Beat the Odds Ventures, well, first I started off with BTO Investments. I started that when I was in Asia. And the reason I started that because I had an agent at the time, and this was my first pro contract, and he's like, man, we got to get you a financial advisor, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at him like, I don't need no financial advisor, dude. You don't know how smart I am. And so that right there, it really woke me up, because I'm like, man, these guys really don't know what I'm capable of, my intellectual. And so I fired him. More the story. I got him out of there. And so I went harder. I started studying. I was in Asia, so all I could do is play basketball, do push-ups, and read. So I just started educating myself more and more. And then I just got really good at it, man. And so once again, this goes back into having your network and your resources. I went out to the best people I have, because one unfair advantage that sports and entertainment has is we have the social capital. So this is what I decided to do that was different than most athletes, because they don't really use their social capital until they're done playing. 8 times out of 10, right? So I decided, man, why I have the social capital, why I have this juice, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start an education platform where I'm teaching financial literacy. So I combined that, brought in a couple of great people that I know, and we started building this thing out, right? And so eventually that turned into, I got even more smarter on the business end, and eventually it turned into BTO Ventures. So with BTO Ventures, I combined everything together and made it a literacy conglomerate. So we focus on more than just financial literacy. It can be agriculture literacy. It can be energy sector literacy. It can be private equity, VC, real estate, health and wellness, blockchain. It goes very, very extensive. Credit. It goes very, very extensive, because these are all the things that our people need to know. And so I already had, like I said before, that reach in Africa, that reach in Asia. So I started it there. I made every client, I don't even call them client, I made all my community free. So anybody, I started a Discord with this curriculum. So anybody that joins the curriculum in Africa is free, right? And then I brought that to the States, and then we just scaled it. And so that's what ended up BTO Ventures. And so then I decided I wanted to get into the nonprofit space, and I wanted my nonprofit to coincide with my for-profit, because both of it is education, self-sustainability, economic development, building you up, mental. If you're an athlete, working on your brand monetization, business owners, right? So I'm developing a whole entire community. And so with the nonprofit side, I'm like, man, this is something that it can keep growing. And so it's just been taking off from there, man. I'm just so happy the things we're able to accomplish, man. It's really, really one of my proud moments of life. I ain't gonna lie.
No, that's beautiful. So the nonprofit is the community give back that you are doing, and again, you can't live and not give and be great, be successful. Can you talk about the why? Is the why because and let me scratch that. Let me give you some more props, because when I watch the YouTube, you guys are talking about ETFs. unlike some podcasts and some YouTube channels will be nameless. You don't got somebody on there saying, hey, take your money off your credit card and put it on your debit card, which, and all type of other fraudulent stuff that Pocket Watching with JT will call you out on. I'll send the wolves on you. But talk about, did you grow up, were you financially always literate? Like my grandmother and my mother and my father, they put me on game at a young age, but one had business, the other two worked. Did your people put you on, and so you want to pass that on, or is it because you learned it and you might be like, I learned it late, I want y'all to catch it early?
My situation is so unique, man, because I had both, right? So I grew up with my mother and my father, right? My other family around me didn't have that same luxury. So it's certain, and my friends as well. So a certain game that my parents taught me a little bit earlier in terms of maybe not the scale where I'm teaching in terms of like the stock market and all these other things, but little things are how to save your money, right? How to not make hasty moves, things that eventually is the ground stone you have to know about in order to be a successful investor, right? Now, it's certain things. My father didn't graduate college. He had to drop out, raise his family, and come back later on in life. My mother still to this day don't have a degree, but both of them are very successful people. So with that being said, I was like, it's certain things they couldn't teach me. My father said all the time, it's certain rooms and people you talk to, son, that I could never be able to do it. I could never, talk to all these billionaires and people from all over the different sectors of the world like you can, right? So it's my authority and my duty to kind of give back and take that game from them at that high level and give it back to my people. You see what I'm saying? And it's one of those things where I'm obligated to do this, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I don't do it, I'm not going to leave it up to someone else's hands when I have the ability to do it, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things.
Man, I mean, it is, and it's work that we need to catch them young. Like, even high school is too late, middle school, elementary to get the game. And we started learning about and reading the newspaper. That tell you something about me. I earned these gray hairs and wrinkles, folks, but the hair is still flowing. Talk about the, if you've looked into the school districts in the DMV, and we sometimes go after government contracting, or it comes to us. Have you looked into the RFPs, the government contracts that are looking for companies and nonprofits like yours?
So that is something that, well, first, let me just throw that out there. I haven't been home. This is the longest I've been home in the last 3 years.
Okay.
I've been home 4 months, right? So I'm all over. So I put certain people into those roles where they handle those things for my company, right? So I'm sure BTO at this very moment is finding different grants and different things that we can collaborate with the government. Now, me personally, I do have some friends in the higher up that we are having discussions with, but we're speaking in more of a project base, getting these kids to Africa, getting these kids to my other resources that I have. More of these food security drives. Food security is one thing that I'm very, very heavy on. Economic development. How do we curate these different institutions together? So I'm bringing, for example, I brought a partnership with Chase Bank. I'm bringing Chase Bank to all my initiatives that I do in the Southeast DC area, Ward 7, Ward 8 in specific, because that's what needs it the most, right? So not only am I bringing myself and my BTO, my group, I'm also bringing Chase Bank. I'm bringing different people who've been on Wall Street for 20 years, Black men, been on Wall Street private equity 20 plus years, bringing them. Like, I'm bringing all these different resources to these kids, right? So it goes, the grants and the money is big for me. Yeah, that's cool, but I'm about the impact, right? So it's like the grants and the money is just going to be able to further my impact and everything more and more. But at the same stage, I feel like so many people focus on the reward and that aspect of it instead of doing the work. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I got to do the work first, so that's why I don't try to overconsume myself in terms of me going out specifically to look for this and look for that. I need to do the work. And then I just know God is going to, do what he do, this is what he does. He's going to make it happen.
Well, you know why? Because faith without works is dead. So when you got the faith and you put in the work, voila. It's in the books. All you guys got to do is read them. And I'm going to tell you, read the Ethiopian one, the original, because it got more books in the 66 than your pastor preached. But that's something where everybody at another level, you overstand. Can you talk about the pushback that you have gotten as an athlete doing business? I didn't say trying, but doing business, because sometimes they will tell you, shut up and dribble. Focus on one thing, Jared. You're doing too much.
I was just actually, I spoke at the Howard School of Business about this and Bowie State University about this recently in the last month and a half. Don't put your limitations on me. And that's one thing I'm very, very key on, because it's like, just because you can't do it, my brother or my sister, don't mean I can't. Right? So people, they tell me all the time, how can you do both? Well, I'm just like that. I'm just built like that, right? Where it's like, I'm not making no excuses other than what my reality is. And my reality is I can do it. So it's like, if I've proven I can do it at a very high level, I'm going to keep doing it, right? And I'm just going to keep expanding, my team. And a lot of people are like, well, even with these different coaches and teams that you may play for, right? I get a lot of interviews, for example. They might be like, oh, I don't want you going in an interview and talking about your company. And I'm like, man, black man to black man, how could you say something like that to me? But of course, I don't say these things, but I'm just thinking, this is things I think about. I don't want to be controversial or nothing like that. Like, I am brought on to play a role. But at the same time, it's like, you brought me in to play this role and to have a platform. And I'm choosing to speak positivity and light and economic development from my platform, as opposed to speaking things of nothingness that's going to not help my people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you were nice about that one with the nothingness. I had another word for it. But the fact that anybody who doesn't want you to talk like that doesn't understand that athletes are multifaceted, and that's a push. That's a play. That's for something the team to take pride in, to say our people aren't just playing basketball, they're also making an impact, so why are you hating? You want to cut? Just say that. Say you want a piece, you want a job, you hire your own coach or general manager.
Yeah, and that's real, man. That's real. And it's one of those things, man, I do get backlash on it, and I do also get a lot of support, right? But at the same time, I'm in a position right now at 25 with the things that I've accomplished. I'm in a position where there is no going back. Yeah. Right. So I got to block out the noise continuously. Whether people give me all the praise, whether people give me all the hate, I got to stay straight tunnel vision.
Definitely. And, SBA, PTAC, and SCORE, you guys, is what I'm pushing when I talk about government contracts. I want to make it clear, because I have content out there telling you guys, this is free game. You don't have to hire a consultant like myself to get certain game for the government. It's all there, but you do have to go search for it, because again, if you do not put in the work, ain't nothing's going to drop in your hat. School will not teach you what you need to know for business, what you need to know for government contracting.
But you just hit it right on the head. It goes back to what we talked about previously. Your resources, your network, right? I might not know something that you know, but this is the point of having a joint venture, a JV, a collaboration. You get so much further when you're building something together, or you're bringing these different people in together, than you will get by yourself. Because at the end of the day, it's certain things you can never know. And certain things you can learn, but you would never be as good at it as someone else. Yeah. But we as Black people, sometimes we have such a terrible mindset where it's like, man, I can do it all on my own. And well, it's like, man, you don't understand what big business is. You've never seen or handled, or asset management over a certain amount of capital. So it's kind of hard for you to foresee something that you don't understand.
Yeah, and you know what? Even outside of business or inside of business, however you want to see it, you don't understand how teams work and how family works. We can't do anything alone great. Look at the communities that we always say run stuff. They work as teams. They don't mind that person being smarter than them. They, and everybody has their issues, because I deal with a little bit of everybody. But for us in the Black community, from here to Africa, put your person on. You talk about joint ventures, great. Hire them, great. on that pyramid, flip it upside down and you be on the bottom and put your team at top. That's what it's about, to me at least. And I don't think I'm in the minority. I just don't think we get to let our shine, because it's easier to say Master P and Romeo are beefing and then highlight that instead of all the greatness and the people P has put on and, the different things that they've done together.
And even when I seen that, I'm saying, man, the power of media. And this is one thing why I brought media to my conglomerate as well, with all these different series I'm having in Africa, the States, and everything. The power of media is second to none, right? We could look at something like Master P and Romeo beefing. Nobody talked about how Romeo got all these different shows, how he got all these different music. Who put that into play?
Yeah.
We have to be humble enough to understand why certain systems work. You know what I'm saying? And then we also have to be understanding of what big business is in terms of what equity shares even mean. He might not even been in a situation to sign a contract or write a contract or be literate enough to understand a contract as a youth. But instead, we try to tear this other black man down and then tear down his son and then tear down a legacy potentially, involving ourselves into something that we don't understand.
And they did it too, a week ago with Dion. And you say, wait, hold on, the brother can't get a promotion because we don't know what he'll take. And, we know Dion wants to be a coach in the NFL. Everybody, with some foresight sees that. So let me just say it like this. If Jared leaves Africa NBA and then goes to the Houston Rockets, please don't try to drag him.
Y'all gonna be mad at me? Y'all gonna be mad? I'll come back.
Yeah. Please don't try to drag them. And you guys, like I say, the best is yet to come, but time is everything. And I don't want to give you too much of his time because I want you to go check out, he said, his Discord. I want you to go subscribe to his YouTube. I'm going to have links in the description. I want you to follow everything that you see, because I'm telling you, greatness is in this man. And I just feel it from it's humility, it's genuine humility. And I just appreciate you, my bro.
No, I appreciate you too, man. I definitely want to give a quick shout out to you. I want to give a quick shout out to BTO as a team, BTO Ventures and PTO Global. And I also want to give a few highlights of what we are doing in Africa and really globally. So right now on our venture side, we're working on a major project where we're building bespoke stadiums as well as an innovation academy to coincide with those stadiums as well. So our first phase, we're perceived to be in Kenya. Second stage, we perceive to be in South Africa. Third stage, we perceive to be in Tanzania. And so we're doing and fourth stage is DRC Congo. So we have a 20 to 25 year plan where I'm trying to put these stadiums in every single country in Africa, as well as the Innovation Academy. The large scale of this is building out smart cities. Akon is a guy who I respect a lot, great guy. I get a lot of game. And so I have a vision that is very, very major for not just Africa, but our diaspora in general. I want to make everything green, everything self-sustainable as well. And even with my Innovation Academy, I don't want to have regular curriculums. I want to have more so the curriculums that BTO offers now with the sectors that I feel are the most vital for us, which are the fintech, the agriculture, the energy, the private equity, all those different sports, right? High level sports. Those are all different things that's very, very vital to me and where I see the direction of the world going in the next 50 years. So I want to be, a real groundbreaker for that. We also have an initiative. It's called Google Southeast of South Africa. We're bringing 10 kids from Southeast DC. We're bringing them to Google headquarters in Africa for their workforce development as well as that rebrand. I'm doing that same business model with a lot of different companies throughout the world. Google just being one of the first. And so we're doing some amazing things with that. We have the World Youth Leader Summit coming up. That's our next major event. I'm having that in Africa. That's going to be around after July, realistically. I have a tentative date for you guys. Well, we're having multiple events throughout the States as well with our real estate sector coming up in January 27th, I believe. So we're doing some amazing things. It's a lot that I don't want to be too long-winded. But the purpose of me saying all this is that I am a professional athlete doing all of this at the same time. So my call to action for all of my professional athletes and entertainers is do a little bit more. I ain't asking y'all to start a school. I ain't asking y'all to, do all this other stuff. Give away hundreds of millions of dollars. I ain't asking for that. But if you see a kid and he wants to take a picture with you and he asks you a couple questions, just take 2 minutes out your time, just answer them just to your highest level. That's all I'm asking, because that little bit of hope can turn a kid's life around. It did it for me. It did it for me. Just a little bit of hope and access. We can curate a whole new generation of beast. So, yeah, that's all for me.
Amen to all of that. I'm telling you guys, the best is yet to come. And some of y'all know I'm already going to try to, off air, you won't hear this conversation, see if he wants to become an influencer over at the African Diaspora News channel. You guys already know how I do that. But you guys, make sure that you check the links in the description. Tell them the best way to follow you if they do want to join the community and get some more game.
For sure. So on Instagram, our nonprofit is BTO Ventures. Our nonprofit, my bad. Our nonprofit is BTO.global. Our for-profit is BTO Ventures on Instagram. On Twitter, we're on BTO Ventures. On YouTube, follow us and subscribe on BTO Ventures. We have a lot of great content on there as well. To get access to our curriculum, you can get access through www.btoglobal.org. Our website, all of our information is on there as well. We're everywhere, man. TikTok, we're all under BTO, man. So we ain't too hard to find. My personal account is Jared Harrington 10. So you get in contact with me. I'm always open. When I'm not open, my team's open, so I'm always open at the end of the day. So we're just here for the world, really.
You guys have gotten the game. Now it's up to you to go share it with somebody. It will change their life. You guys, be blessed.
Are you tired of the rat race in America? Are you ready to visit the motherland to relax and rejuvenate? Are you ready to explore all that Africa has to offer? Then check out the brand new Diversified Game Academy course, Prepare for My First Trip to Africa. Are you worried about being able to afford the trip? We got you. We will show you how to travel either on a budget or as a baller. Learn how to stress the value of the USD. Did you know that 100 United States dollars is worth over 1,000 South African rand or 10,000 Kenyan shillings or 54,250 West African CFA? Are you worried about taking your kids? Get the game from Kellen Cash, a bona fide world traveler, having traveled to almost 20 countries, several of those in Africa. Get the game on taking your kids on their first trips. Learn how to find the best tickets, get the visas, and plan your own adventures in Africa. Don't let Eddie Murphy have all the fun. Plan your own coming to Africa trip starring you, produced by you, and featuring you. If you are ready for a life-changing experience, sign up for our course today, Diversified Game Academy. Get prepared and purchase at diversifiedgame.com.